3 tasks, 15 rubrics, and 1 score. Countless hours of planning, teaching, and analyzing. What in the world could I possibly be talking about? You can probably guess it is the edTPA. Now, edTPA stands for Education Teacher Performance Assessment. In the back of your mind, you may be thinking it means raised anxiety levels, nerves beyond belief, and your head spinning around in circles. Although, one tip is to read the handbook. Reading the handbook, taking a deep breath, preparing, and not procrastinating are keys to helping you pass the edTPA. The confusing part of edTPA is that there are different requirements for different licensure areas. Therefore, make sure you are reading the right handbook and know all the ins and outs before you start. Being an early childhood education major, I'm going to give you an overview of the early childhood edTPA. So to begin, locate your handbook and make sure you read the entire 48 pages. Yes, you heard me right, 48 pages. It is important you read even Task 3 before beginning because it is important to the planning of your edTPA. If you do not read the handbook to know what you are doing, you may not be a calm person when it comes to filling out the 3 different tasks. So now let's begin with the early childhood edTPA. It is comprised of 3 tasks. Task 1 involves planning for instruction and assessment. Task 2 is instructing and engaging children in learning. And Task 3 is all about assessing children's learning. Now, before I break it down task by task, I'm going to highlight some major areas you need to keep in mind from the beginning all the way to the end of your edTPA process. When designing the learning segment, decide what theories you want to draw from, as you will have to talk about theory in Task 1, 2, and 3. Have a pre- and post-assessment as you need to analyze it in Task 3. Make sure you pick 2 focused students of different ability levels. You will have to collect 3 sources of evidence in regards to each of your focused students. These can be work samples, video clips, or audio clips. 2 clips of your learning segment will be submitted that can be no longer than 15 minutes in length. Throughout the 3 tasks, academic language needs to be used as much as possible and in various different ways. And once again, theory, theory, theory. One of the most important pieces of advice I can give you. Make sure you include theory in tasks 1, 2, and 3 of your edTPA. Now I will break down each one of the 3 tasks of the edTPA individually for you to understand what you need to do and what is required. So let's begin with Task 1, otherwise known as Planning Commentary. First, you select a class you are going to use for the edTPA. So for early childhood majors, it will be the grade and class you are student teaching in. You must gather information about the class, the students, the materials used in the class, etc., and fill this in the context for learning template, which can be no longer than 3 pages in length. Now comes possibly the most important part of the entire edTPA. What you do in Task 1 influences and impacts Task 2 and Task 3. The next step is to decide what you want to teach for your learning segment. For early childhood education majors, language and literacy development is a key component of your edTPA. Do not forget about that when you're planning your lessons. Okay, so you must create a learning segment that consists of 3 to 5 learning experiences over the course of 1 week. Identifying the central focus is the meat of your learning segment and what each of the learning experiences hinges upon. You may be wondering exactly what central focus means. Well, straight from the text in the handbook, it states, the central focus should support children's language and literacy development in an interdisciplinary context through active and multimodal learning experiences. There you have it. We all know what interdisciplinary is, so make sure you take that into consideration when planning your learning segment. Now to the tedious part, planning and writing the lesson plans. Each of your lesson plans for the learning segment can be no more than 4 pages in length. Instructional materials for each of the lessons cannot exceed 5 pages for each lesson plan you create. Your assessments for the lessons will be submitted as well in a separate file. After creating all your lessons for the learning segment, you will fill out the planning commentary. It should be completed prior to teaching the learning segment. It includes prompts you need to answer and cannot exceed 9 pages. Also, public service announcement. Make sure you do not erase the prompts from the template. You simply type your answers below each prompt. There are 5 rubrics that align with Task 1, so when completing it, take a look specifically at levels 3, 4, and 5 of the rubrics. That's what you're aiming for. Phew! Okay, so now you have to fill out the context for learning, 3 to 5 lessons for the learning segment, and the planning commentary. What's next? Next would be Task 2, otherwise known as Instruction Commentary. Task 2 involves the actual teaching of the learning segment. But first, you need to get permission for video recording the students in the classroom. This may mean getting permission slips signed, so make sure that is taken care of before you are going to teach. Next, put your learning segment to practice, teaching each one of your lessons to the students. It would be beneficial to video everything you are teaching in the learning segment, so you have a plethora of options to choose from when it comes time to select video clips. So you taught your learning segments. Now, analyze the video clips, and you need to pick 2 different clips that total no more than 15 minutes. 2 clips, 15 minutes. You can choose what you want the scorer to see, but in each clip, it should be unedited and continuous. No chopping 2 minutes here or 2 minutes there. What video clips should you choose? You want clips that show language and literacy learning in an interdisciplinary context, as well as active, multimodal nature of young children's learning. Ideally, one clip should show whole group interaction, and another clip small group interaction or interaction with individual students. After identifying the 2 video clips you want to use, you will respond to the prompts on the template of your instruction commentary, which can be no longer than 6 pages in length, including the prompts. Then, if anything is not clear in the video, such as learning materials used or the speech of the students, you can provide supporting documentation equaling no longer than 2 pages in length. 5 rubrics also align to Task 2, so be sure to be looking at them as you are filling out your instructional commentary. Now, you have completed Task 2. What's next? Next is Task 3, also known as Assessment Commentary. You will be responding to prompts on the Assessment Commentary template. For Task 3, you will analyze your pre- and post-assessment you did with your students. This is where reading Task 3 comes into play before beginning your learning segment. You also need 3 sources of evidence from 2 focus students that you have identified. The 2 focus students should not be of the same ability level. The sources of evidence of the 2 focus students can either be work samples, audio clips, or video clips. When submitting the video or audio clip for each focus student, it must be no longer than 7 minutes in length. You must also submit all work samples you are using for Task 3. You do not have to use audio and video clips and work samples. You can use either 1, 2, or all 3 when completing Task 3. Then, when filling out your assessment commentary, it should be no more than 10 pages in length, including the prompts. That is all 3 tasks of the edTPA. Now you will submit your edTPA to Pearson and await anxiously until you get your score back. Well, there it is, the 3 tasks of the Early Childhood Education edTPA. While it may be overwhelming, take it one step at a time, read everything thoroughly, and ask for help if you need it. Do not be afraid to ask for help, as it may clarify what you are supposed to be doing. And I'm sure every person will have a question, or a few hundred, while completing their edTPA. To all my fellow early childhood education majors, may Pearson be with you as you submit your edTPA for scoring during your semester of student teaching, and good luck to everyone completing it.